Welcome with me the glorious Princess Ngozi Edozien.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to stand on existing protocols. I know that all my life I have brought up the rear, being the last of 6. And this evening I'm bringing up the rear again. And it's only me that stands between you and the final end of this program. But bear with me and allow me to say a few words about this great gentleman. So as I said, I'm Ngozi Edozien. I'm the break after 5 pregnancies in a row. But I think that never led me to stop being who I am and what I am, and that comes from the lessons of my father. So everybody calls him Agu. I actually could never get used to calling him that. As far as I'm concerned, he was just daddy. And I called him many things. He was my besto. He was my hero. And I often fondly just called him Pops whenever I would see him. So and anyone who knows me, as Chimamanda said, knows that I am very unashamedly the daddy's girl, and I adored my father. So I can't give a tribute to this man to talk about all the great things that he did, all the achievements and accolades he has had in this life. I can't do that because to me, he was daddy. And he was an amazing father and an amazing friend and an amazing mentor. And he taught me many, many things in this life. Especially, he was a man who went into challenges with courage, with confidence, and the conviction that he would always come out succeeding. And he always did, whether it was from any illness, from assassination attempts, to war, to moving countries, to coming back to take up this role as the Asagba. He always did everything he could to the best of his ability, and he always believed that he would be successful. And he did it with a twinkle of mirth in his eye. He, for me, was the king with a heart. He was incredibly sharp of mind, sharp of look. I never ever thought of him, even at almost 100 years, as old. So I'm sure many of you can imagine that his transition was an extraordinary shock, and it was extraordinarily unwelcome. And when they tell me he had a great and long life, for me, and I know for all of his children, and for my mother, he was gone too soon. So the notion that I won't see him again in Asaba, in his chair, I think you saw in the film that habit he had of wringing his hands. And he would have this little smile on his face. And he would tell a joke. Oftentimes the joke wasn't really particularly funny, but you would laugh. And it was that silent laugh that he'd have. His shoulders would shake and he would laugh and nothing would come out, but he was laughing and you would just laugh with him. So in many ways, losing him has been a very enormous challenge because he gave so much to my life and he gave it a lot of direction, and he had extraordinarily big shoes. Shoes that I don't believe I can ever fill. He had a love of the arts. He had a love of science, love of sports, traditions, and as everyone has said, family. He had a focus on achievement and doing his best. He was the epitome of dedication, of hard work, courage, integrity. Everybody has said that. And it's interesting that everyone says the same thing because that is the truth. So as a father, We had such an extraordinary relationship, something very, very special. He came to concerts, he came to my track meets. On weekends, we would have our special little outings where we'd go and listen to music, stereo sound at the mall. We'd go and eat Baskin-Robbins ice cream and go to the International House of Pancakes and gorge on sugary desserts. And he'd always say to me, "Don't tell your mother." And that was our little secret. And he continued that, strangely enough, even into the last years when he would come to Lagos and I would buy him tubs of Blue Bunny ice cream, which would disappear by the morning time without my help. He DJ'd my parties. He picked me up at night from parties. He took me to my first disco. He took me to my first New Year's Eve party and just insisted that we come home by midnight so that we could pray. And interestingly enough, this was a tradition we carried on right through until January 1st, 2024. It turned midnight, we called, and my mother, myself, and my dad had a prayer session into the new year. So it's a shock that he's no longer here. He inspired so much in myself, whether it be love of arts and fashion, style, wanderlust for travel, discovering new lands, everything. And he was a man that you could talk to about anything. Not the traditional African father, but I could literally talk to him about anything, and I did. And we had many a late night call over the years, and he would listen to my issues, my concerns, work, life issues, and he would share his life experiences and always try to encourage that it would be better. In fact, one of the things he always would say to me at the end, say, "Baby girl, there is always sunshine after a storm." And indeed, he was the sunshine of many of our lives, and we will miss him, and we all love him more than we can say. And if there's only one thing I wish, it would be that I could dance with my father again. And if I had another chance and another opportunity, I'd play a never-ending song and I'd dance with my father again. Thank you all for coming. Thank you for celebrating him with us. And pardon my tears, but he was an extraordinary man. He was a special man, and he was daddy. Thank you very much. Fare thee well. You go well.
A deeply moving tribute to a father